Welcome back to V-Rule. Today is Wednesday, where we go over our Wednesday works of art. Before we get into that, we do have that giveaway, the Glaring Articuno tin from Crown Zenith, 2 3-pack blisters from Stellar Crown, and a Pokemon mystery prize. I've been dropping hints. People haven't found it yet. That's okay. I can't wait to give it all away. All we need to get to is 2,500 subscribers for the channel. We are well on our way there. It has been climbing pretty steady, pretty fast. How do you do that? You subscribe to the channel, you like the video, you comment down below. It's all the usual stuff like you do for most channels. When you're on a path for growing, subscribers is number one. Helping us get there is doing things like liking and commenting. That engagement shows the algorithm that this channel has at least some value to you, and I really appreciate that support. And when you write to me, I write back to you. Even if it's just a simple little thing, I will definitely say something to every comment. And if you have criticism for me, I can take it. It's okay. I'd want to get better and be able to serve the community better. I try to do the things that I like, but I'm also here to give some information that might be of value, or maybe like today, where it's just of interest. Kind of in my wheelhouse, we're looking at artworks, and specifically go to this video. Leave a comment there. That's where I'm going to be pulling the winners from. Put your comment on that video as an additional comment to today's video, and then you're entered for sure. So let's jump right into it here. We're on Pokelector, and what we have here is a list of all the different sets. We are working our way through this. We've only just begun, really, because we're still in the Scarlet and Violet era. So we're working our way backward through time here, going from the most recent to the oldest, all right? We have another video series within the channel where I review sets on how they're selling from oldest to new. So that's another one to check out. But for this purpose today, on our Wednesday Works of Art, we are actually on Scarlet and Violet 151. I know this is a great set to be looking at here. We have quite a few cards, 165 in the main set, 42 additional. That puts us at 207 cards for the entire set. Decent sized set to go after. As far as the illustration rares, special illustration rares, full arts, it's not massive, so it's obtainable. There may be a possible reprint coming in. It looks like that's coming in fall for the Christmas season. So we should see a good amount hit in the market. I don't know if that means that the singles are going to start slipping down in price or not, or if they're going to hold steady, and then once that reprint is finalized, we'll see them start to climb. Either way, it looks like single prices are doing pretty well on this set, that it seems to be pretty obtainable if you're looking to do it. Pull rates aren't that amazing. They're pretty good, but not that amazing. So if you like the pack opening experience, beautiful set to do it on. However, if you're looking to complete the set, then maybe going with the single cards is the way to go. So let's just review them for the artwork. This has nothing to do with the market prices, has nothing to do with the playability of the card. This is all my own personal opinion from my own experience as a photographer, as a professor of photography, as an artist for years, having degrees in art. So this is just me making my opinions known. Like it or hate it, I love the conversation, because if you disagree with me, I want to have a conversation about it. Maybe you have a good point as to why. What we're looking at here are 4 different tiers. We call them true artwork, still art, neutral as far as my feeling toward it, or not going to last. It doesn't mean it's not going to be a good card forever or anything like that, but just from an artistic standpoint, I don't think it's going to hold up over the test of time because of all the different stuff that we have on the market available as far as artworks go that are going to keep pushing these further and further out of sight, out of mind, and not really being the kind of cards that we'd want to pursue as an artwork. So I may be a little harsh, a little critical, but that's okay. I think it's part of the fun. Let's start with the lowest little set here, the gold cards. Oh, let me point out one little thing here. These are the Japanese cards because it adds a few more that we have in English, but not exactly in the main set. You're going to have that Snorlax, which came as a promo in the ETB, the stamped promo in the Pokemon Center exclusive ETB. You have the Mewtwo and the Mew for the illustration rare and special illustration rare available in Japanese set to pull, but those are promos. You can see them right in the back over there. Promos that we had available in our 151 UPC. So I'm going to be critiquing those because those artworks are worth noting for sure as well. Let's start with those gold cards. Gold cards, I personally love the gold cards. I think they look great. They have a lot of bling, a lot of flash, a lot of good stuff for it. And actually that kind of does matter because cards that are playable, I said it wouldn't be about playability, it does play a factor. It's hard not to, it's hard to separate rather the individuality of just artwork over all of those other considerations, because here I am on TCG Player, you see the price, maybe that's having a psychological impact. Hard to say, I'm trying to look past it. But I will say that I love the the flair behind Mew. I like the switch and how well this one came out, because this is a very simple card going back a long time in the TCG, but for this artwork, this is probably the best artwork of Switch that there is. I'm going to put Mew, not in the gonna fall off forever, the energy, same kind of thing, because I think gold will have its time, but we're gonna go with neutral on a couple of these here, and I'm gonna actually put that switch, compared to so many other Switch cards out there, as still art. That's pretty crazy that I'm putting a gold card there, because it's not very common. Let's look at these full arts. I think there's a lot of nostalgia that comes to play here, because it is 151. This is the original Kanto region, and we have a lot of characters that we were used to growing up, or they've been reprinted, reused, reshown to us over time throughout the entirety of the TCG and the Pokemon franchise. So that's probably playing a big factor that I'm going to put these big three here in the still art. It brings me back to those original ones where they're just so prominent in the frame. It's all about them, and this is just a great stance for each of these Pokemon that they are making the tier up to still art already, just on the big three in Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise. When it comes to other ones, I feel that Alakazam makes the cut there, and it may be the posture of the Pokemon where he's just reaching out of the frame a little bit. He's got the spoons, and you can see that psychic action, the swirl, just seems to be hitting a little bit harder on this full art, where the other full art Pokemon are kind of in the same range of feeling like maybe neutral to even won't last. So let me just throw some of those in here that it's not going to last on some of these here. I don't know if it's because they're not fan favorites, or if because they're not really the design that I think they should be. I'm going to put Ninetales in neutral, but I am borderline on the not going to last for that Ninetales. I like Ninetales, but there's so many others out there of that card that do it justice, where this full art, not so much. In fact, I'm going to make that jump. I'm doing it. I talked myself into that, sorry. So we're going to go with that on the full arts. As far as Pokemon Full Art Trainers, a little bit different. I'm pretty neutral about all of them, except for Erica's Invitation. I think this one actually has a level to it. There's a little bit more depth, that it almost has that alt art feel, that it brings it to a still art version of the card. So we're going to go neutral on these, where they're not hitting hard, but they're not disappointing. I don't think they're going to be useless over time. Full arts have their place. There's a lot of collectability in full arts. Now we're getting down to brass tacks. We're getting to the big ones, the ones that everybody really looks to. I felt that the illustration rares were really difficult to start breaking down into the set. There's a few obvious ones that stand out to me. Nothing is going to hit in the not going to last as far as these go. I think it's too hard to do that or consider that on the grouping of 151 because of the longevity of these Pokemon throughout the entire franchise, that none of them hit that mark. But we can make a few obvious decisions here that I feel neutral about Omnistar. All right, I feel neutral about, there was a couple here, Caterpie, I know, I'm sorry, Nidoking, yep, it's happening. Tangela is in that neutral zone for me. Tough stuff, I know, I'm going to be hurting some feelings out there. Getting those starter evolutions, kind of hard to be putting them in neutral when they really have that still art or true artwork feel. I believe fully that the way that these were done, let me get it to a little bit bigger, the way these were done, putting them in this scenery, having a lot more depth, you really playing on the way the light works on some of these, it's just really hard to say that these don't have some consideration in those higher tiers. So we're going to go this route here, that Charmeleon is going to be in the still art, Ivysaur is in the still art, Wartortle hits true artwork really hard for me. It's that lighting. The way they've done this here, the light from above, you can see the highlight on the top of them, the shadowing from underneath, the light falls off. If you've ever done any snorkeling or scuba diving, you see how fast that light falls off. You have that little bit of a starburst coming through here with so much in focus for how this works. That's actually a good technique as far as drawing to reflect how we are used to pictures working. You get a starburst effect when you have more depth to the photo. A little bit technical for this channel. I don't think we need to go into that, but it just brings it home a little bit more for me that this one really hits true artwork on a Wartortle. Not my favorite Pokemon either, and I don't know if that's playing a factor at all where it would have pushed it down for some, but for me, looking at just artwork, trying to be objective in that way, it's definitely a true artwork there. And the first one we're calling out to be so. Still art, we're going to put in the Machoke here. Very nice there. We have our three starters. I think Bulbasaur hits the still art. I know it's Some people are saying those should hit the very top tier. Charmander, I am really feeling has that true artwork. There's just great depth, great framing. Squirtle has true artwork to it. Those two in particular just scream. A lot of great details here. These nice diagonal lines leading us through the frame. Squirtle just being playful, running through the water on the beach. I wouldn't peg Squirtle on the beach very often, I don't think, but it just truly works here. It looks fantastic. Maybe it's because he's the mascot. Maybe it's because it's a little bit more chaotic like some of those others that I really get drawn to. But having this scenery of Pikachu flying through the street there brings it home for a true artwork. I was debating on Psyduck, but just kind of reviewing these and going a little bit more in depth on them, it does hit in the neutral zone for me. I love the reflections here on our Poliwhirl, the way the rain's coming down, just the colors, and he's just checking his own reflection out, wondering what's going on there, puts it to still art. Mr. Mime, not a fan favorite, and not a favorite of mine by any means, but I can tell you that these long shadows, that hazy sunset, this washed out, blown out sky as we call it here in photography world of mine, gives it a really good visual, a very true feel. You have a little bit more of a fill reflection, so you can still see Mr. Mime hanging out in the park here doing what he's doing, but those long shadows are really doing it to me, giving a lot of depth. There's a big entry into the scene. You feel like you could walk up there and be a part of what's going on. So that really steps it up to still artwork for me there. Dragonair, just another thing, beautiful light, a little scenery, going under the bridge, just things I wouldn't put into the scene in my first initial thought on these Pokemon, and we're seeing that more and more, putting them in a setting and giving them a little bit more storytelling value in that way. I don't know why they didn't do the Mewtwo as a special illustration rare, because it is phenomenal. It's fantastic. It has true Mewtwo vibes. It's dark, it's edgy, it's night. He's floating above the city. You see this powerful stance over the city, floating in the sky. Very beautiful there. The Snorlax is still art here. It looks like a path I don't want to approach just in case, right? Because there's that little chance that Snorlax wakes up, right? We are left with our special illustration rares, and we can see how things are starting to stack up. And as I like to point out, that the groupings kind of hit together and seem to fit in their category pretty effectively. Again, not a lot of them that are going to be in the not going to last. I could be more critical and do that. I just don't think there's any point in doing so because of the artwork's individual basis. These are kind of the categories that I find to be the spot. The only thing we're not going to see on this next page is the Mew. However, we do have the remainder of them, and here I'm not trying to make friends. I am. I need you to subscribe, but I'm not trying to make friends when it comes to this, and I know that these being the biggest hitters and so few of them is going to be really, really putting a lot of criticism on how I may block these out. Are we ready? Alakazam, obvious, amazing. Price point, I don't think reflects it well, but that's irrelevant because the artwork is fantastic. This is definitely a true artwork on that Alakazam. Chaotic. He's in the scene doing his thing. You kind of stumble upon him in this area messing around like he's just playing with his powers. All right. The Erica's Invitation, same kind of thing. The scenery is really elevating it to a whole nother level. Another one, Giovanni's Charisma. The way the lamp is looking out at the city, that nice glow Persian, just being Persian. And then we have this other image here now in the Shrouded Fable of Persian looking out the window like it might be another scene from that same space, that same night. It just adds a little bit more storytelling, and maybe this one wouldn't hit as hard if we didn't have Shrouded Fable to know that could be paired up nicely. But I really like the lighting, I like the drama, I like the depth of the scene there. All right, I'm avoiding the big three because I don't want to tick people off here. But let's go ahead into this Mew. Fantastic. If you've seen the Mew from the UPC, it is just beautiful. For the Pokemon being so small in the scene and so minute to the entire storytelling of this image, it is definitely one of the most beautiful of the set. And it could be that sunset pink haze coming across the entire sky and pouring over the land here, the entire landscape, the scenery going on, and that Mew just hovering across the top of the city there. Very light and playful, and just what a simple little glimpse for such a difficult Pokemon to ever observe. Okay, right? So as part of the anime, as part of the storytelling, just you wouldn't see Mew very frequently. So the fact that it's small in the frame just adds to those chances how often you would see Mew. Very, very little, right? Okay, time to ruffle some feathers. I love this this set here. These 4 right here. I love them. They are all beautiful. However, if I'm going to be critical, I just feel like I'm hurting somebody's feelings. If I'm going to be critical, I don't think the Zapdos hits true artwork. It is beautiful. It's got a lot of obvious pieces to it, these long streaks funneling you into the center. We have a group of 3, a nice grouping. When you do patterns or groups of things, odd numbers tend to play well in the storytelling. It's a little bit more of an organic feel. Nature loves odd numbers, so you have that going for it. However, a little bit too simple in my opinion, that it's just soaring across the sky, barely get a glimpse of the ground. We're going for still artwork. Obviously these do not hit neutral or anything like that, but I just don't think we hit the it for the true artwork. Time to really hurt feelings. let's just pull the band-aid off here. Blastoise is still an artwork. It is, okay? Everyone's saying this one's gorgeous. It hits home. It's so beautiful. You have them in the depths, the bubbles, the little rock formations under the water. It's fantastic. The War Turtle does better than this. The War Turtle has a higher level than this one. And put them next to each other. There's just more scenery, more dramatic in the lighting, more of the Pokemon in its setting. War Turtle hits harder than Blastoise. It just does. I'm sorry, that's the way I feel. I thought when I had it in my hands I'd feel differently, and I don't, because I have it in my hands. I got it in yesterday, and it just doesn't hit the way I thought it would. Venusaur. Really gorgeous, a lot going on, beautiful card. However, I understand why this one doesn't do as well price-wise as the other two. One, Venusaur has never performed as well as Blastoise or Charizard. Two, they could have gone a little bit more dramatic in this artwork. They could have made it a little bit more intense for the lighting. And that's why we're going to see this one in the still artwork as well as the Blastoise hitting in that range. I know I'm ticking people off with these. I can't help it. It's just the way I'm seeing it here. Luckily for you Charizard fans out there, I do believe that this one hits into that true artwork because of the depth, because of the scenery, because of the lighting, because of that. All of that's working, but still it has a very simplistic cartoon feel to it, which is a little bit more of a throwback to the original 151 in my opinion. So having that all encapsulated, it brings it home to true artwork. And those last few might be ticking people off and hurting some feelings, but I really do stand by this. I poured over those special illustration rares because for some reason I kept bouncing back and forth on those last three, especially Zapdos, Blastoise, and Venusaur. I kept bouncing back and forth of where they should land, and it just seems that the things that are standing out to me is the scenery and the lighting and how they're putting the storytelling to use here. These three are not hitting home as well. In fact, they are even coming under a couple others like Poliwhirl, where I felt confident in the still art. So that kind of stuff, the Machoke, that kind of imagery, having been safely placed in still art, had me helped along in my decision making for those three. So that's my list. That's where we're at. True artworks, we have a handful. Still artworks, we got quite a few, the most actually out of them. Neutral, there's quite a bit there. And then not going to last are just these obvious full arts that probably don't even need to be in this game of playing with it. If we're looking at illustration rares and special illustration rares, you know, looking at the ones that are really designed to be a small piece of artwork, then we don't really have any that are hitting into the not going to last when it comes to Pokemon 151. You know what might hit hard for you, though? Is a Galarian Articuno tin from Crown Zenith. They might have the gold cards. There's 4 different gold cards, 4 different packs. I'm not going to say you're going to pull one in each pack. I'm not saying you're going to pull one at all, but I've opened quite a few packs and I've never pulled gold. So maybe it's time that something I picked up has a gold in it, but it's going to be for one of you. So go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Be a part of it. We're also doing 2 3-pack blisters from Stellar Crown and a Pokemon Mystery Prize. So 4 total prizes to 4 total winners. Be sure that you place an additional comment on this video here. That's where I'm going to be pulling the winners from. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.